allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Callahan?
Here.
Houston?
Here.
Hannah?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Here.
Prasada?
Here.
O'Laughlin?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. Nobody signed in? Next be the consent agenda. Motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: the minutes of the June 27th, 2022 regular meeting. Bill's Pizza and Smokehouse LLC, Class C liquor license renewal. That includes outdoor service, Sunday sales and catering, July 20th, 2022 through July 19th, 2023. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we need a motion to approve the claims.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bank rec for your information, and revenues and expenses to date for your information. Okay, next we have a petition from the public. Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes, sir. First of all, I just want to thank Miss Susie, the city clerk, for her help going through gaining records. I also want to thank the ladies located in City Hall. Their professionalism is above and beyond. I mean, they have been, any citizen of this town that wants to come in and request records, this has been a very easy process. I would also like to thank the chief for answering a lot of questions. In regards to one of the questions I have for the city is, who was responsible for the Celebrate Indy 175th program that we had downtown? Was that the Independence City Chamber of Commerce, or was it Celebrate Indy?
It would have been the 175th Celebration Committee, which is neither of the above.
So we have a third entity
There
involved?
was a third committee that was in charge of the 175th, that is correct.
Okay, so one of the questions that a large group of us have had is, how much was paid towards the city for the use of overtime and everything involved back to the city money-wise for police presence, blocking off the streets along those lines? Did the organization pay the City of Independence back any for using the services involved?
Which organization, sir?
That would have been the one for the 175th when they
No,
blocked up.
They did not pay the city for our participation.
So is that usually the common theme with events like that downtown?
Every event is going to be different, but it is not uncommon, that is correct.
Okay, so why do we make people pay to use, let's say, Riverwalk Park, for instance, to get married, but at the same time allow an organization to block off downtown and hold an event? Now, granted, it was to celebrate Indy 175th, which, by the way, I support, and I support the 4th of July events and stuff. Why are we using two different metrics in two different ways, the way we operate our parks, our organizations, and our events when using these facilities?
The parks there's no charge for using city parks. There is a fee for using the band shell, if that's what you're referring to.
So why do we charge people to use the band shell?
I can give you
a
several reasons.
litany
but let's-
of lists.
I mean, there's electricity there that they're using, they have a facility that they have access to, there's other things that you won't get downtown, for
Right.
example. So I think the fee is nominal.
Right, and it's not too much. I will agree with that for the use of services. Do we charge anything for the 4th of July event down at Riverwalk Parks
We
to
do
the
not.
organization?
We do not.
And is there a reason why we don't do that?
I would say 40,000 people coming to our community.
Which I agree. So we're using it as a tool for,
It is part of our identity, is part of our celebration, yes, that is correct.
do you think it's fair that we let go of that when it usually is a big tourism, money-making event, and not for the everyday citizens that want to use what they use when they pay their taxes?
If you're asking a policy question, I don't think that this is the right setting for it, but we can have that discussion. If you're asking, do we support the celebration committee the city has for decades, as far as
Right.
I'm aware, for the event that they put on? But
Agreed, and
we can have a difference of opinion on that.
right, and I agree that we should support everything that goes on. That is a big attraction for the city of Independence, and that's not the underlying tone with it. The Chamber of Commerce, what is that standing with the city of Independence other than using our names? What do they do for us specifically?
I would let you ask the chamber that.
Okay, all right. So one of the things that we ran into, and I'll make this quick because I know you guys got like real city issues you guys want to work on. So one of the things that came about when starting to ask questions to the Independence Chamber of Commerce is asking questions, where's the money going? What are we doing with the money? Now, they are a nonprofit. They have no ties to the city of Independence when it comes to those types of things. They usually just come and tell you what they want to do and then go forth with their money-making. They're not really money-making, but with their gaining of the money. One of the issues that we've come about is we haven't received transparency from the Chamber of Commerce. Now, in regards to the director, which I've tried to question a lot, one of my problems is we put the city of Independence on the front of that Chamber of Commerce. And I believe it is every right as every citizen to find out, A, where the money's going, what are we doing with it, and where it's going, especially for the events that we hold in the city. It's important that the taxpayers be able to get to see, hey, this is an organization that's holding an event, but holding the event on what is owned by the city, AKA the taxpayers. And one of the issues that we're having is the non-transparency that's coming from that. Now, we've instituted from looking from, Ms. Lampe always used to help me just a tons, and again, I thank you a lot. One of the questions we have is regarding towards liquor licenses. One of the year's special event insurance that they're required to have when they hold these events. Some of the things are not coming in line with the organizations that are doing these events. The lack of transparency from the chamber to some of the organizations involved with going about this, and there have been some inconsistencies. I will save you the trouble of what's going on with all that as it's reached a level that is above and beyond this organization itself. We found some misgivings with the way that they've filed paperwork, the fraudulent nature of how they're going about developing from which organization is running which event, and the cross of individuals that are each in those paperwork. Now, I've reached out to Mr. Stephen Larson. He's the Iowa Alcoholic Beverages Division. He's given some excellent information on how to go forward with the liquor licenses and how, even though it may not look right, it is right. He did express that Allerton Brewing Company and the way they filled out their information for their liquor license for the special event that we had down was done correctly, where there were some issues with the organization that went forward. I also got to talk to the office of Mr. Paul Pate, the Secretary of State, for nonprofit activities. Now, I've asked Susie for 3 years of fiscal numbers of any money from the City of Independence to the Independence Chamber of Commerce, because they're two different things. Some cities, they are together. some are separate. We're looking into Code 501c6, which is a jeopardizing exemption in the business league there. There's been some issues with what the money's going and how they go about doing that. We've also got a lot of help from Tom Miller, the Attorney General of the state, and giving us direction on how to go forward and deal with this, and especially from the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, Miss Lynn Adams. She's for civic engagement and equity for fund development for nonprofits. Now, you're probably asking yourself, that's great, you got a bunch of cool people on a piece of paper, how does that affect you? This is just to give the City of Independence heads up of any misguided or misgivings that have gone forward into this, and I apologize to the city if you get wrapped up into a mess that you don't want to deal with. Now, how did we get to this point? When you tell a member of this city, someone who has served their country for 15 years, and just kind of wants some simple question answers, and you tell them to go, and I won't use the word here because I know we're on local cable, and I don't think people want to hear it. But when you tell someone to go F themselves, there's usually a pretty good sign that you probably made the wrong person mad. And I apologize up front if the city gets roped into a mess that they shouldn't have had to deal with because of one individual who feels that they can say what they want to say when they have the City of Independence attached to them. Now, you're probably asking, what is in it for me? I don't want to sue the city. I want no money. I don't want anything involved. No. What it is a campaign against another individual who's not a member or an employee of the City of Independence that just said the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong guy. And I love this city. I support everything they're doing. I support everything that goes on downtown. It's really bad when someone who has the name above their building acts like that to somebody who has some simple questions. Because as you've been so far, Al, and as everybody around the community has been, and especially this office has been straightforward, answered questions, it's really disheartening as a member of the community. And you do not need to apologize for another group or individual that's not here, and this is not an embarrassment to try to make for you guys.
Not
But,
to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
But are you implying that it was a city employee that?
no, sir. No, sir. No city employees were involved at all. It would have been the Chamber of Commerce. Yes, sir. And again, they're a nonprofit,
To you?
and we've reached out to their board as well to try to get some answers and to go forward. I just want to make my city, since I'm a taxpayer, known that there are issues going forward, and they do represent us. They represent the businesses downtown. And I would prefer, and this is just me speaking, that type of attitude, as I've engaged with them not only on Facebook and other things going forward, that I don't want to give our city a bad name. So, again, I just wanted to let you know going forward. Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing this as an organization or an individual?
There's a group of about 5 or 6 of us that have gone forward and have reached out to the state for help with a lot of these. And we're trying to, we found some inconsistencies, but I just want to give the City of Independence a head up so that way they can get their books in line, some of the things that they're going to be asking for and going forward from there. But I also want to make it known that going forward, there's not something that we want in return. There's not a underlying tone or anything like that. It's just making people accountable of their actions and how it affects, especially our great city here of Independence. So,
May I ask, what's your ultimate goal in doing this?
and the ultimate goal is to make her accountable and to make her aware that the things we say and especially what she represents, especially for our city as we have new businesses coming in, that it's important that we conduct ourselves in a professional manner. I know some of the citizens of this great city reached out and thought I was going to come in here and start yelling and screaming and acting a fool, which does absolutely nothing towards solving the greater problem. It's just making you guys aware of the conversations that people are having in town and how we are representative from the community.
Have you been to their board meetings?
No, I have not. No, I have reached out to their chairman, board president, though.
I hope it works out for you.
I hope so too. I really do. I really do, because the last thing we need's a mess in this wonderful city. And the last thing Susie needs is 10,000 emails and the fun of it all. But again, thank you again. Thank you to the city. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and thanks for always answering my questions. And Al, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Unbeknownst to some people who don't think so, downtown looks great.
All right.
All right? Thank
Thank you.
you for your time.
Appreciate it. Moving on, hearings and ordinances. Set a hearing to create code section 69.30 loading zones. We discussed this at the committee of the whole.
Just for clarification, I did have a conversation with City Attorney Herman, who states that this is not a legal requirement to have a public hearing. We do it because we think it's the right way to proceed with this particular item, but it is creating a new code section. This public hearing would allow this ordinance to be added to our code, and then we can put a loading zone in place if the council chooses. We don't have loading zone specific language currently in our city code for parking.
Does this need to go through 3 readings to have it passed or not?
Absent the suspension of the rule for 3 readings, the normal process would be 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said to Al, under Iowa code, certain ordinances require you must have a public hearing. You can always choose to have one if you want more public input. Nothing wrong with that at all. This just isn't one that absolutely requires it.
And it's not time sensitive that it has to happen right away, so we could go through the 3 reading process?
Correct.
Okay.
Tied to this, you also had a conversation about restricting parking on First Street in that same area. That's already restricted, so we're just going to go ahead and have those curbs painted, and that will help encourage people, but that section is already in the city.
Can they paint yellow lines? Because I don't remember what day it was. I had somebody pull up beside me and make a right turn. I'm like, that's not a driving lane.
They use a lot of the street up there. But anyway, this simply sets a date for a public hearing for first reading.
Do we need to explain to people listening what we're talking about, since we kind of talked about this last time?
We sure can. This is a public hearing to add a loading zone, which is a restricted parking area on the section of 4th Avenue Northeast from First Street north to the driveway on the east side of the street where Scooters is, because the trucks that are coming in there for both the Brick Kitchen and for Scooters, that's where they try to come in and park, and it's the most out-of-the-way place for them to do their deliveries. This would give them the ability to pull over to the curb, stay out of the driving lane, and keep traffic moving on 4th Avenue Northeast. Also on First Street East from 4th Avenue to the east, again to the driveway on the north, and the full length on the south, or the majority of it on the south, is no parking already. Simply painting the curbs to remind people that they cannot park on First Street East in that area. And that's been in the city code for some time.
So this is just going to be a loading zone, not a parking area?
It is a loading zone which is restricted only to deliveries. So if a truck comes in to make a delivery to Scooters or Brick Kitchen, they can use it. If somebody decides to park there and go shopping at Brick Kitchen, they have the ability to be cited. Currently, that is not a restriction.
How will that be designated?
It'll be a.
Posted as
painted-
loading zone?
Right. It'll still be a no parking zone, but if we do it as a loading zone, Chief Niedert's staff know that they can do deliveries there. It's not for customer parking.
And they're off the sidewalk.
And they're off the sidewalk, they're out of the driving lane, it just accommodates them. They can't really park in First Street from 4th Avenue on because of the turning lanes for Highway 150. So it's different than it is on First Street, a little further to the west there where they park in that center lane.
I do not have a motion or a second yet.
We need a motion.
Second.
And we need a roll call on this, Susie?
No, just simple.
What are we voting on here?
This is just the motion to set the hearing for next meeting to talk about
Okay.
creating the loading zone. So any further
Thank you.
discussion really next time, so.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, the council rules and procedure update. Motion to approve the updated council rules of procedure.
Make that motion.
Second.
And we do need a roll call on this one.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Next, a motion to approve a resolution that replaces and repeals Resolution 2022-06 that sets the mileage reimbursement rate. Their IRS is letting us raise our mileage reimbursement up to 62.5 cents per mile.
So moved.
Second.
And we need a roll call on this one.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Motion to approve a resolution to assess a property owner for Chapter 52 mowing of properties, failure to comply.
So moved.
Second.
And need a roll call there.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we need a motion to approve the annual renewal of the home occupation permit for Etten Vinyl and Graphics LLC.
So moved.
And this, second, this was just taken over by a different owner, is that?
No, this one, he just missed turning in his home occupation renewal form after the council, after the designated date. And then we had the council meeting where the rest of them got approved, and then he came in a couple days later with his renewal, so,
And he's kept it mowed and everything, whoever owns it.
yeah.
A motion and a second there?
Yes.
Need a roll call, please.
Prusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. Next, a motion to approve a 3-year lease of property located at 109 3rd Avenue Northwest. This property is a FEMA lot. The lot was already leased in a different individual previously. This is just changing ownership, but a new lease and council approval is required.
Just for clarification, it's not changing ownership, it's changing the lessee from the lady that has been leasing it to another party, but it's been maintained and well cared for, so we don't see an issue with that. We do have to put a different name on there. When we change the occupant, if you will, the council is the one that has to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
And we need a roll call on this one.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Prusader.
Yes.
With regard to the FEMA lots, some of them that I've seen around town are starting to look a little tattered.
We can ask Todd to double check on them. They've been in pretty good shape for the ones that we've leased, but we can double check that.
Got specific addresses, maybe you could give him some addresses as a heads up. Next, a motion to allow Innovative Ag Services to have a holding tank installed.
They don't want to hook onto the sewer?
If I may, we should have a motion and a second, then we can
I'll
discuss
make
it.
a motion.
Second.
Innovative Ag is roughly 200 feet away from the nearest sewer connection. The majority of that 200 feet would be concrete that they would have to tear up. They took down a building, they're putting a scale house in. They just want a restroom for the scale house. It is seasonal in use, and So it would meet our standard for a possible exemption if the council wishes to do so. It would be a, call it a private treatment facility. They can use a single-bedroom septic system or a holding tank. Chad Beatty at the county has said both would be acceptable, whichever works out for Innovative Ag. But we've worked with him because he would govern that in the county. Again, our exemption is anything over 150 feet to the nearest connection. They exceed that. And for being this small of a use, I think it would be prudent to allow it in this, under these circumstances.
And they're gonna put this, the same spot where they tore the building down?
The scale will go where the building was. Their proposal for the holding tank or the small septic would be just to the north of that. There's a space there that would be acceptable.
It just doesn't seem like that's even 100 feet from the edge of the pavement.
Not from the edge of the pavement, from the nearest sewer line to connect to. And the issue is how far do they have to go to connect into our sewer system? And that is roughly 200 feet.
I see where they only plan on dumping it once a year, so if there's a smelling issue, they will be asked to dump more often.
If it came to that, quite honestly, the once a year is probably overkill for the amount of use that they would have based on what they've shared with us. But if they go to the septic system, the issue is moot. If it's a holding tank, yeah, we expressed that concern. The once a year was our suggestion.
Some property owners have had an issue up there with the smell that comes out of those bins and stuff, and so they don't need to, Todd's been up there before about it. So, you know, the property owners don't need to have a nuisance like that, is what I'm saying. If it would turn into an issue.
I'm kind of surprised they just don't go with a porta potty if that's such limited use.
But seasonal, probably.
Yeah, again, we've had that suggestion. This is their request, so,
Must have some heat in it to use for the winter and stuff.
yeah.
You don't see porta potties.
Might be more comfortable, yeah.
Well, there's test equipment and different things like that too, with scale being right there that I would assume will be used. So yeah, I would assume there'd be some sort of heat in it as well.
That's probably why they're not going to.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll have a roll call. Roll call, please.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes,
Versater,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
thank you. Motion to enter into an agreement with Hub for third-party administrator services.
Currently, Group Services has been providing these services. They were bought out by Alara Group. There's been some changes on their end. We believe that Hub would provide a more robust service for us. It has no financial impact to the city whatsoever. It's just the assistance that we get from the third-party administrator for our health insurance. It has to do with, if we have to go shopping for health insurance, which, we haven't had to do, some of our employee elective programs as well as optional programs that we offer, like our long-term disability, vision, dental, they all fall under this.
There's no more cost for Hub than there was.
Zero difference to us whatsoever. It's simply the services that we receive. We did take this through our Employee Relations Committee because it's something that we feel is important. While it does not affect our employees directly, there is an indirect impact to them based on the services that we have. And the Employee Relations Committee has no issue with this adjustment. It's really changing our agent of record is what it comes down to. Again, any cost is directly between Blue Cross and this agent of record. It doesn't come to the city. If we have no agent of record, Blue Cross has an agent. Again, we save no money. It has no impact on our financial position for these services.
If it turned out not to be a great service, you'd probably consider changing it down the road.
Absolutely. There's only about 30 people that would like to do this for us.
No more discussion, I need a roll call, please.
I need a motion and a second.
Oops.
So
Make a
moved.
motion.
Second.
Now I need a roll call.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston,
Yes?
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we move on to a motion to approve the airport manager to dispose of the 2004 Chevy Venture.
So moved.
Second.
We're going to work on doing it as a trade or,
We're going to take a look at that. I don't know that there's much value either outright sale or trade. But
Is the demo derby over?
yeah, missed it.
What's the Blue Book value on that?
I don't have the Blue Book value. This is something we've discussed as part of the replacing the city vehicle, moving the Malibu out to the airport. We just hadn't, in reviewing it, we hadn't taken the official step of authorizing the disposal of it, so it's just trying to keep our ducks in a row here.
Cost of used vehicles, it's probably gone up a little bit.
Yeah, usually vehicles
Oh,
are,
yeah.
are worth
It
something.
starts and goes forward.
Yeah, and reverse.
Some don't even have that.
It's just as long as you can get to where you need to go.
I need a roll call, please.
Houston,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Crusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin.
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion to approve the revised facade project asbestos abatement removal contract with Echo Midwest Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
Why are we paying for asbestos removal? That's not part of the project.
It is part of the project, it is a required part of the project because our funds through CDBG are HUD funds. This was set up as a separate portion of the facade improvement program since our original contract with the, was it Cornerstone? This is always set up to be a standalone.
I was gonna say,
Contract.
because I went back and looked and I didn't see any asbestos.
We have
Part of
a,
the,
we have a separate asbestos inspection requirement, which we did award to Hawkeye Environmental. They came in, they did the inspection, there is asbestos, that means that we have to abate it or mitigate it. This is the proposal to do that for those properties that have asbestos that will be disturbed. Part of the contingency that each property owner and the city has in this grant, in this program, is set up with this in mind, knowing that we had the potential for asbestos all the way through here. Not every property has it, not every property has asbestos being disturbed, so only those that are listed are actually affected.
And I do remember this discussion early on. We had
This-
this when we talked about
Right. And
doing this, yeah.
the architect set it up as a standalone, separate issue, partly because of timing, partly because we didn't know what we had for asbestos and the inspection. So this is not a surprise, it's just a matter of, it's the next step in the facade program. But it's been planned on since the project started.
does this increase our cost for the project?
Not beyond what comes out of our contingency that we have in the program. The city's contribution has a contingency in it, just like the property owners. So it will come out of our contingency, but it is not a change order that increases our investment in the project, no.
So Al, when you take like the first one here and it says removal price $1,500, board up openings 1,000, do they do one or the other?
No, it is,
Both prices?
yes.
And then like the one that says removal price of $1,000, all remain intact, no change, so that'll automatically cost $1,000.
Correct.
And the removal price on 4,000 if elected to be removed, so
If they can seal it, they can, I mean, that's a possibility. If elected to be removed, that's going to be up to the property owner as to how they want to,
and then they're not charged the 4,000?
that's correct.
Imagine with the age of these buildings, almost all of them have some sort of asbestos in them, because that was pretty common back then.
You almost knew that that was going to be coming down the pipe when we looked at renovation. When you talk about renovation, anything over, yeah.
And if you're doing new doors, new windows, you're getting into places where asbestos is going to be found. If they get into the, any of the awnings or the roofs at all, there's going to be asbestos in there. Some of it, like I said, they can encapsulate, so it's not really an issue, but some of it is going to be disturbed, so they have to find a way to mitigate it.
So do we have any idea how much our contingency will increase as a result of these?
Our
How much our
contingency's
contingency
there.
cost will increase?
Our contingency does not increase. Our contingency is the money we set aside
But did-
for these projects, for these items that came up that were not in the original contract that we awarded to Cornerstone.
So I think what you're asking is how much will this take out of our contingency that we set aside? Is that what you're
It-
asking, Mike?
Right.
Our contingency will be 25% of the total asbestos removal. It matches all the other matches. The property owner has 25%, we have 25. And then HUD, the CDBG grant is 50.
And all the property owners must be on board with this.
Yes, they have to be, because this is a HUD requirement. This is not an optional item. The painting of the brick, that was optional. This is not.
Any other discussion? I need a roll call.
Hannah,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Brusader,
Yes.
O'Laughlin,
Yes.
Jensen,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Engineer update, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a quick update on a couple of the projects. We're into a little bit of a rainy pattern, or we had been, and so construction hasn't progressed quite as quickly these last couple of weeks. But the water and sewer service connections that have been going on the 150 project are complete, and tomorrow and Wednesday are the scheduled shutdowns of the water system to make those tie-ins to the overall water system there. So although it's been slow, that has been progressing, and they're getting to the end of that. Following those connections, then the contractor will come in with his dirt crew to prepare the subgrade, place the geogrid and rock subbase. So we'll start to see things move along in preparation of paving the next phase. On the south end, they've completed just about all of the side street paving connections. They have intake and manhole tops to place, and those box outs to pour, and sidewalk and driveways to take care of. And the sidewalk and driveway crew is scheduled to be on site tomorrow to start that. So we were out today and met with the Dave Schmidt representative and looked over all of those sidewalk and driveways in preparation for that. So that's kind of a status update on 150. On the Liberty Trail South Extension, they did some paving on Saturday because they were rained out on Friday. And tomorrow they were going to pave some more today, but again, they were rained out this morning. So tomorrow they're planning on making the connection from Bland Avenue to the north. It's only about a 150-foot stretch, 200-foot stretch. So following tomorrow's paving, the trail pavement will be in place from Bland all the way north to the Dry Run Creek Bridge. They still have shouldering, rock shouldering, and backfilling to do, so it's not open by any means, but the pavement's down in that stretch. And then following tomorrow's work, they'll move farther to the south and work on the area between Steve G's property and Bland Boulevard. That's for the paving crew. The grading crew that's working on that project, they are graded to just south of Juniper Drive, and they're going to continue to grade to the south to the Triangle Park connection. So they'll be working on that this week. They'll be getting that graded and rock put down in that area so that the pavers can continue to progress south. So that is an update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mark, on the Highway 150 project, are we going to be able to have better access to the cemetery for the cemetery walk that they've got on the 16th? Or?
So I've been talking about that with Dave Schmidt and with Brian and Larry in our office. what we've checked on is that closure there at 8th is part of the safety closure for the detour. And so our concern and our fear is that if we remove that, then we've created kind of a three-way intersection there that's not open any farther to the north. So I haven't asked the question to the DOT because I think I know the answer, that we're not going to be able to move that safety closure. The safety closure is a permanent closure until, the project's done. It is the start of the detour if you are coming northbound into town. And so
I was wondering
I don't
if we
think
could keep
so.
the roadblocks there and they could come in on 7th and go south and then hit the entrance to the
Yeah.
cemetery.
I don't think that's going to work,
Okay.
unfortunately.
But they could go across on 7th into the cemetery and go down through the cemetery.
Across on 6th.
That's 6th, yes.
Yes, if we can get 6th open, and again, I'll talk to Dave Schmidt and Central States about that, because right now 5th is open, but if 6th can be open for that, then yes, they'd be able to cross at 6th.
I think that would help them out if
Yep.
it's possible.
Just make it easier access, because driving through True Value and then
Right.
Park is kind of rough.
Well, they had to do it for a funeral, so I think it can be done.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, if you could check on that, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Crawford?
I just have one question that I think I brought up before, and
Sure.
I don't know that I ever got the answer. Do we have a comprehensive trail plan that we're working from, or have we ever developed one? Are we in the process of developing one? Are we just kind of doing piecemeal as the money comes in?
We
How
don't,
is that working?
we do not have a comprehensive trail plan. We've got trail goals, if you will, that have been set primarily in the southwest. Part of the discussion with having a green space, open space study is, do we have a comprehensive trail plan, or should that be part of connecting those park areas? But we don't have one that I would call comprehensive. We have a bike path plan, if you will, that's got an awful lot of on-street bike trail, but that doesn't, in my mind, qualify as a comprehensive trail plan. And so that's something that we do have, down the road, we're gonna have to work on. And we've talked about it extensively, we just,
Haven't.
we don't have it.
We have worked on several different areas of trails in terms of cost estimates, design concepts, looking at outside funding sources, whether that's safe routes to schools or the rec trails program or anything like that. But again, it's not a holistic or overall view. It's just this area, this 3/4 of a mile stretch or this 4-block stretch. But yeah,
I think
Just
the,
wondering how they're all gonna come together, I guess. In my mind, I'm struggling, I'm a visual person, and I'm struggling to put all these little pieces together.
and you look at the northwest, and we're thin on trails in the northwest, but we have some sidewalks. We get to the northeast, we don't have trails and we don't have sidewalks.
We have
We get-
nothing. We don't
Right.
even have a park, really. Yeah,
Oh, you have First Ward Park in the
we
northeast.
get that little, yeah.
Two in Northeast.
I hear what you're saying, and you are correct. It's something that we have to put some effort and some attention into, but not having the starting point, the impetus that we had with Liberty Trail and Trotter Trail, and we kind of had pieces to build on, and that's what we've been doing, is building off of what we already have. But it will take a comprehensive plan to really design that connection.
Unfortunately, prior councils never really took that into consideration when we developed the Northeast, because there's no sidewalks,
Yeah,
no place for trails. It would save me a lot of mowing if they put a sidewalk in front of my house.
now, I will give the
Bayforest, you could put one in.
former council
Good for ours.
those some credit, because there was some roadblocks that were identified as part of expanding a trail system. And, obviously, those are the things that have to happen first. And past councils, you all were a part of some of those, did take action to get some of those roadblocks taken care of. So
so what?
progress slowly.
Oh, I'm so
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
I guess my next question to follow up would be, what would it take to get together and get a comprehensive trail plan developed? Or, not, I don't know, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology. A plan that looks at what we can do, you know, this is what's done, what needs to be done next to connect these two, and then what,
Yeah.
I guess is, to me, would be the way to go.
I think you have two options. One is to make it part of your green space study, which it can be,
Okay.
if you so choose, or have a standalone project to look at a comprehensive trail plan developed, connecting the trails that we have and connecting the different corners of the community. How do we get to every corner of the community with a trail that will connect back to a trail system? Not a small undertaking. I don't think that you should look at it as a real quick fix, because it is, unless you're going to do everything on street like we've been doing, it's going to take quite a bit of work to put that into place and to evaluate that. Mark would know better than I do as to what that would entail, but I think you want to look at a comprehensive trails plan and call it just exactly that.
So the cost involved in a separate plan versus the green space, I mean, we're already looking at the green space, correct? So what would it cost to add that on to that? Is there an extra cost?
Oh, there would be an extra cost. I don't know what that would be. I won't venture into that world,
Okay.
but I think there would be an extra cost to it, regardless of how you do it.
When I think our green space is confined to the west, isn't it? Or is it the
The
total
green
citywide?
space is the city
Citywide.
park system, and what can we do to enhance that? Well, doing a comprehensive trail plan would expand on that.
Okay.
I think you're going to get into a pretty massive study with that. I'd want to probably have some conversations as to how big that would get. I
Okay.
think you're better off keeping the corridor study and green space study as one, and then look at your comprehensive trail plan as a standalone item. That would be my knee-jerk response. But again, it's something that you can look at as we get into that process and into that discussion, but they're separate.
Very good.
I just didn't know if there would be a cut rate deal to put it all together, but you're saying it would
Well-
probably be too much?
I don't know. I think it's a fair question to ask. I just don't have an answer for you.
I think first of all,
Let's connect what we have.
yeah,
Well, that's
We
where
have to- and that-
but how are we connecting things, you know, I mean, are we doing it?
From by Walmart, well, we don't even have permission to go across Walmart, do we?
We've been studying, or not studying, we've been applying for funding to pay for phase 2 of that Enterprise Drive across Walmart, over to 6th and north. Well, that one's already planned, it's already in place. It's just a matter of trying to get the right funding to do it, which is not insignificant. I mean, it's a couple $100,000 project, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
But if we want to connect what we already have, the connection that you're missing is going into the northwest, across the river into the northeast, coming back across First Street into the southeast, and then, again, how do we get back over to that Walmart, or the Enterprise Drive Trail, the Highway 150 Trail? There's some opportunity there, but that loop across the north and the east is really what's going to need some study and some design work. Where do we have the open space? Where do we have the corridors that we can build onto? You know, I don't have an abandoned railroad bed to make it easy. I don't have those natural places yet. So it would take a fair amount of work to get to that point. It's doable, and I would encourage the council to look at that. I think it's very important to do. It's our missing link in our trail system, is that connectivity.
I think you have to first identify the areas in the northwest or northeast that you want this to run by. You know, like, is it trying to make sure that it goes by the hospital? Is it trying to make sure that it goes by a particular park or a particular development? Or, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, once you identify that, then we can look at the connection of through those, how we get through that particular neighborhood or that part of town.
I just think if we're doing this, you know, like connecting things, and we should be doing it very mindfully, I guess is my word I would use for that. And I just.
Not have a,
And
not
I
have a
need
trail.
visual. I need a visual, so a map of what it looks like would be great, because, and I think it would get enthusiasm in
It
our
would.
community too, if people could see, this is what we have, this is where we want to go, this is the direction we're
Right.
aiming
And,
for.
and I think that other than the trail that we're missing with Phase 2 of our Enterprise Drive Trail, the only thing left in our trail system that really begs attention is, the paving of Liberty Trail. I think that's the Liberty Trail that goes to the west
West.
of the Highway 20,
Yep.
or 20th Avenue.
20th
excuse
Avenue,
me.
yep.
We've got a pretty good chunk of trail there that's limestone, that we've talked about how do we get that paved, but that's the last two chunks that we really have right now, without going into these other areas. But I think that we can ask and get some ideas from folks as to whether it's better to do it as part of a green space study, or if it's a standalone, if there's a discount for doing that together or not. I mean, I think that's a fair question, and we have tried to focus on the green space because that's what came out of our strategic directions. That's kind of the impetus that we've been putting out there is our corridor study and our green space. This would be admittedly in addition to that.
And so it would be really nice to have these, all of our parks connected in some way, so people, riding bikes or walking or whatever could get to these.
How do our kids get to the parks? And that's back to the green space study, so that would be a tie-in.
Okay, just a question I had, sorry, I didn't mean to take up that much time.
Any other questions for Mark? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, next we're down to reports, council members. Jen, you're first.
I think Independence is getting a lot of positive attention with the Our Town. And I'm just couldn't be happier. So good for Independence.
I agree.
That's all I have.
Tom?
From everything that I've heard from people, it was very positive for the 4th of July weekend. And under some difficult circumstances sometimes too. It was well done,
The rain was a little challenging.
yes.
Deb?
Two things. One was a question for Dave. I was talking to a guy from Owine the other day that said, I was through your town and got a speeding ticket. And he said, and he paid it, but he said, the flashing light wasn't working. And I said, well, when was this? When school was going? Or, oh, no, it was when school got out. And he got it for going just the 20 miles over. He wasn't over the 30 miles.
No, I think,
And so nobody looks at those tickets evidently.
yeah, they do.
Before they're sent out?
Yep.
Well, this guy got it, but he's paid it, so I said, well, I think that might have been your screw-up, is to pay it before you, but he had no reason to question it. He just wanted to know about why the flashing light wasn't working. I said, it doesn't work when the school's not.
I would encourage if somebody calls, they could call our department.
But if he is accurate in it, would he get his money back?
If he's accurate, yeah, but if he's inaccurate, no.
Okay.
And I've had a couple of those where they call and they say, wait a minute, and I'm like, no, school was in that day. And we get the thing with the flashing lights, which I talked to you about, where we're,
Well, this was clear into June, and school was definitely out, I mean.
yeah.
Okay, so I'll.
If it was in June and the thing was out, then it didn't click him at the time
But then,
because
out of town, people are getting those too, occasionally, from out of state or whatever, and
I do review those tickets when I have a chance, and I have not seen one come through. Every ticket that I approved today for the west side was all 45 with a high of 52 and up. There was none that showed school zone, so it wouldn't be.
okay.
45 and 50 in the 30 mile an hour.
30 zone, yeah. Because it doesn't click until 41. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see any when I looked at your report that were above a certain level.
Yeah, and that's just now. Understand that the report that you have shows for June.
June.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Dave. I'll-
You're welcome.
I'll double check it.
Anything?
And then I guess the question, when we get calls, I don't know if this is, maybe it's you, Al, about a yard nuisance, and we report it to who?
You get a call about a yard nuisance, give me a call, give Todd a call.
Okay,
or
so-
send an email so we have it documented.
Okay, so I did that today and called Todd, and he wants to know who it is. They don't want their name out there for whatever reason. They don't want their neighbor being mad at them. I don't know what. But they're saying, you're my council person, and, you know, what can you do about it? And when you drive by, they're accurate, it's a nuisance. So,
And I'm not questioning that, but people's definition of a nuisance
well,
sometimes
and
is,
that's why I think give Todd, let him decide it, I guess.
right. And that's the point is,
But when somebody tells me something's a nuisance, before I just call and say, because sometimes, you know, it's been like about cars, and if they're licensed and all that stuff, they're okay. And so I'm not gonna send him down a place that's definitely not in it, but if it looks like it is. But it was like, you know, he wants a name, and I don't know why the person has to give their name if they don't want to.
You're saying the whistleblower, Deb, didn't want their name, they wanted to make it known anonymously.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna call him a whistleblower, I
Was
guess.
he
Well, I mean, I don't use it in a negative term, that's not what I mean, but if they are the one, that's what they are,
I
as a
mean, there's,
whistleblower, but.
there's some people that don't care that, hey, I'm the one that called this in. And the next person doesn't want anybody to know, but they want the problem taken care of.
Sure.
And, you know, they elected us, and they're saying, you know, this is,
Are you sure that Todd was asking about who was making the request about the nuisance or the property?
he wanted to know names of the person that reported it.
Reported it?
And so, that's,
you know, sometimes it's a matter of being able to reach out and explain to him why it isn't a nuisance, or, you know, I don't know why he would ask that, so I won't make excuses for him.
but I just thought maybe I'm not supposed to, shouldn't be calling him, maybe I should be calling you. I don't
It
know.
would always be best if these folks that had a concern would call Todd and report it.
Doesn't anybody else have that problem?
Sure.
I'll offer the one that we got the exemption for. Todd was contacted about the nuisance, and I don't think that he said anything about to the property owner. The property owner has no idea where the complaint came from.
Oh, I don't think that he's gonna share that with anybody.
That's not the issue I'm getting at. I'm getting at the person that's making the complaint doesn't want evidently the people to know if they're making the complaint. They have to live next to them, I suppose. so
Yeah,
Look at that.
that's,
And I don't, to me, if it is a nuisance, what makes a difference of who turns it in? If it's a neighbor, if it's somebody that drives by, you know, I don't know why there has to be a name attached to it.
I don't know that there has to be, maybe, and I don't know either, I don't know but obviously somebody could tell anonymously. I don't think we can require anybody to give a name. There,
One,
that's the
you know,
black and the white of it.
I
The
gave
other
one
side-
name because the person told me that they were going to call and talk to him about it, so it's like, okay, that's the name I'm gonna give. I kind of feel like I had a little bit of permission because the person said they were gonna contact him and maybe didn't, I don't know, but, I'm just questioning because, you know, we're doing this chain of command thing or something, and
I'm sure he
How
probably
is
just wants to
accurate?
get back with them and let them know what he found out, would be my best guess.
they don't care about it. They just want the job done. If it's a,
But what if it can't be, because it's not really a nuisance, it's just something they don't like?
yeah.
Well,
Maybe that's what he wants to be able to tell them.
there's a difference, because if Todd is dealing with a nuisance, there's a process that he's
I know.
required to go through.
He's explained that, so, you know, I explained that on, and people are pretty good about it. Some things are cut and dried and some aren't. If a yard is a foot long, and our ordinance is 8 inches, there's no rocket science. He does a procedure to get it mowed. And they know that. But I'm just asking who the right person is to contact. Because I don't think, and they are, people have said, well, I've called so-and-so on the council, they don't return the phone calls, and it's like, you know, so I don't know if they don't want to deal with that. I answer my phone just about all the time. As you know, it rang a few times because it was a doctor's call, but whatever. So I'm just asking what the proper procedure is to do.
If in doubt, call me.
And I think Todd's been pretty open when he's been here.
Yes.
To please contact him if we have a concern.
Absolutely.
And contacting Al's even better, you know, but Todd's gonna be the go-to guy to get it done, so.
But then as well, I go back and tell the person, give them a call that I reported it to our ordinance guy. And that's all that I can do.
It's just follow-up, yeah, I think that's absolutely, you're in the right doing that.
Do you have anything else, Deb?
Nope, that's it.
I have a couple reminders. The election for mayor is the 19th, which we're rapidly approaching. The only voting location is going to be the Falcon Civic Center, since it's one item on the agenda, or on the ballot. Early voting is available at the auditor's office at the county seat, at Buchanan County Courthouse. So anybody is welcome to go up and vote early. I won't say often, but you can vote early. And
you know, if the ballots have to be in by the day of the election.
yes,
Okay.
For them to
Yeah.
count.
for it to count, yeah,
Yes.
to count, correct. Yeah, they have to be received on that day, not the next day. And I just want to thank everybody for making our 175th celebration an outstanding success. I had a lot of really positive comments about the Friday night thing, and then the weekend was pretty amazing down at the river, so another great fireworks display. So thanks to all the volunteers that helped pull it off. And I'll go to Brian.
Nothing to report?
Mike?
Nope, I'm good.
Catherine?
The only thing I could add, the 4th of July stuff was all wonderful, but I was just amazed the other day after we had that horrible storm that I got up to go to work, and I go pretty early into work, and people had already been out cleaning up. And I was just really impressed with that. So, I was looking for an excuse to be late, and I didn't have one. It was all, I could tell where things had been moved and cleaned, and so, it's very good.
I think our street crew and parks people had their hands full for a while.
And I think our fire department was also actively engaged in helping with some of that as well. So a big thank you to all
Yeah.
three of them for the
Yeah.
work they did.
They were up in the middle of the night doing all that because it was done early. It was great.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Roder for staff comments.
I have nothing other than vote early and often.
Doug,
Right.
anything?
No, sir.
Welcome, good to have you on board. Suzie?
At our committee of the whole, we kind of talked about ATVs and Brian, you brought it up. I did reach out to Iowa Codification. They are meeting this week to kind of figure out language and wording, and that will be part of legislative update. Fingers crossed, they get it figured out, all the stuff that changed, and we'll send out the phone either this week or next week. And I kind of like, well, we only do this. How does that change? Well, let me get back to you. I gotta do some more digging. That's fine. So that will be coming. I just don't have it
The-
yet.
The legislative update, what we're referring to is annually at the end of the legislative session, our update is what goes into our code book. So that legislative update in our code book is what they send out to us. But we do it all at one time instead of individual ordinance changes per state legislative. That would be wrapped up in that.
Yeah. And I think as we discussed, take a look at that once it happens, then we decide, do we just adapt that wholeheartedly, nullify our current ordinance, you know, and follow that, or what we do?
Right, but that way, if we do it through their legislative update, we don't miss something
Right,
or
exactly.
misinterpret something, more importantly. And if you decide you want to do something different with it, you have that option, as long as it's not more restrictive.
Right, to update, because that legislation passed because they let the cities do what they want.
Right.
So you really are wide open to prohibit and restrict however you want in town. You just can't charge for licenses. I'd say most towns I've been working with on this issue's coming up everywhere now, of course. Most are leaning towards, let's try it, kind of wide open.
go with what the state is saying, other than restricted
Yeah,
areas.
because even like the highways or the secondary roads that come into your town, you still control. But because the state's saying we're okay with it, most cities are gonna say, let's try it. We can always go back if it becomes a problem. We can revert back and restrict certain roads in town.
Because like I said, I did ask kind of like, even about the hours of operation, I'm like, you know, I think that got taken care of. Well, I gotta double check, so I know basically whenever they send that, I think they, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think they also look at the customer's codes to see, okay, what exactly do we need to change for you? Because I know he said like the ones that do charge fees, we're gonna work with them individually and make corrections. We don't charge fees. Ours should be easy to
So they may rewrite yours to keep in any of your current rules that you have.
Right.
While matching state code, and you may wanna think about, do we wanna keep all our current rules?
I think our biggest issue is crossing 150 is the biggest. Anything else, Suzie?
That's it.
Okay. Chief Nieder?
I would share with you, last week I had a meeting with Brad from the street department as well as Brian from Crawford Engineering. We have come to a final decision on access to the businesses in the 300 block of First Street East so that they can have people come in the back of those businesses once that intersection gets shut down. And we're going to utilize the area between Del Rio and City Hall, this parking area here, and make that into a 2-lane section. Once I get a better visual map of that, I will send that out, share that with the affected business owners, and then I will go door to door and meet with each of those business owners to explain what's gonna go on. And then that will give them access. And we're coming up on that in what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks now?
Probably, yeah, 4.
4. And so when that is destined to be 1 week before, we'll actually make that change to the parking lot over here, so that everybody's used to that once that intersection gets done. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Very good. Thank you. Dick, you have anything? Yes. Good to have you. Yeah. You missed us, didn't you? If there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to have the meeting adjourned.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.